Всем привет, дамы и господа, с вами Алекс Азаренко. Топ-20 скандалов с участием знаменитостей, о которых вы никогда не слышали. Watch, Мукбанг Реакт, Skittles. Начинаем.
And that car struck another one and it ended 2 lives.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most obscure celebrity scandals throughout history that have somehow managed.
Бля, у чела охуительный косплей на Трампа.
Counting down our picks for the most
Я сначала подумал, что это Дональд.
obscure celebrity.
Конечно, его высказывания насчет Зеленского осуждаю, слава Украине, но аватарка с ним мне очень нравится. Такая классненькая прям. А, да, вы не видите.
Scandals throughout history that have somehow managed to fly under the radar.
Those are just terrible, bad days for me and for the actor together.
Number 20, D'Angelo solicitation arrest. Over the years, several high-profile careers have been completely or almost destroyed by scandals involving sex work.
Ну дохуя скандалы, связанные с секс-работниками. Ну как? Скорее с сексуальными действиями. Вот, кстати, появились подробности о смерти одного актера. Звали этого актера Лиам Пейн. Последние 2 часа жизни певец провел в компании пары эскортниц, которых сам вызвал в отель. С девушкой он провел около 2,5 часов. Видимо, на каждую эскортницу было выделено время. После чего, под воздействием запрещенных веществ, разбил телевизор и выгнал обеих, ничего им не заплатив. Эти же девушки заявили, что Лиам принимал котики у них на глазах и требовал, чтобы они приобрели еще дозу.
Workers. Just ask Hollywood actor Hugh Grant and former New York governor Elliot Spitzer.
I heard. That is...
Элliot Spitzer, знакомое имя. Чё за хэ? В Нью-Йорке из Сколково?
Fair critique.
However, some stars, like R&B singer D'Angelo, have managed to emerge from such messes with their reputations barely scratched. Back in 2010, while on a prolonged hiatus from music, D'Angelo was caught allegedly trying to pay an undercover cop posing as a sex worker $40. The handcuffs were promptly slapped on his wrists, and he was charged as a sex worker for
Полицейскому, наверное, девушке полицейскому.
$40. The handcuffs were promptly slapped on his
Сейчас, блядь, мы тебя насадим.
wrists, and he was charged with solicitation. While the arrest made headlines briefly, it subsequently vanished into the abyss of forgotten tabloid news. These days, the incident is so obscure that it doesn't even appear on the singer's Wikipedia page.
И не надо.
Number 19, Dante Stallworth vehicular manslaughter. In March of 2008, NFL player Dante Stallworth was riding high, having just signed a 7-year contract with the Cleveland Browns worth $35 million. However, just 1 year later, his life took a tragic detour.
On the field, Dante Stallworth is known for his extraordinary hands. But now, it's his extraordinary sentence after a deadly
Тут поможет ебо, а не руки.
drunk driving accident.
Что-то не особо он умеет управлять. Ну, блядь, наверное, руль просто не сделан из свиной кожи, ему тяжело.
In the early hours of March 14, 2009, Stallworth, who had spent the night drinking at a hotel bar, fatally struck a 59-year-old pedestrian with his car. To his credit, he called 911 and remained at the scene, but his blood alcohol level was well above the legal limit. Stallworth was facing a potential 15-year prison sentence, but he pleaded guilty to manslaughter and only received
Ну да, блядь, я на поле только умею с руками обращаться. Да, я это признаю, блядь.
a 30-day jail term. Perhaps
Ну спасибо. Хотя бы 30-ку.
aiming to avoid a prolonged media scandal, he quickly settled with the victim's family.
Пожалуйста, я известный игрок в НФЛ. Не надо, не поднимайте скандал.
For an undisclosed amount.
Вот вам все деньги, вот, блядь, трофей. Только, пожалуйста, не распространяйтесь.
I have to do this. There's no other way for me to make amends for what I did unless I'm out here speaking out, something that will live with me for the rest of my life.
Number 18, Errol Flynn sexual assault trial. You may have heard of Errol Flynn, the dashing Australian-born actor who charmed audiences during the golden age of Hollywood with his swashbuckling roles.
Errol Flynn is a screen legend. An icon, whose film roles as the swashbuckling man of action and
У него, видимо, перебор с романтикой.
romantic lover remain unequal. Whose film roles as the swashbuckling man of action and romantic lover remain unequaled.
But you may not know why his career took a nosedive in the early 1940s. Flynn was just as famous for his on-screen roles as he was for his off-screen sexual escapades. This all came to
Я забираю девственность у богатых и отдаю бедным.
a head in 1942 when he was accused of statutory sexual assault by two underage girls. The resulting trial became a media sensation as crowds flocked to the courthouse to show their support for Flynn. Though he was ultimately acquitted of the charges, the damage was done. The scandal left his reputation in tatters, effectively sinking his career as a romantic
Его карьеру отобрали. Отобрали карьеру бедного актера и отдали богатым.
leading man.
The trial changed everything for Flynn. Thereafter, the image of the great lover was a burden.
Мне нравится пианинка на фоне этого рассказа и виды ночного города.
Haunted him for the rest of his life.
Number 17, the Dave Matthews Band bus incident. For the passengers aboard Chicago's Little Lady on August 8, 2004, it was a messy case of right place, wrong time.
There's a sticker on the Kinsey Street Bridge that's a reminder of a messy mistake made on August 8th, 2004.
Just as the open-top sightseeing boat cruised underneath the Kinsey Street Bridge in Chicago, they were greeted by an unplanned and utterly disgusting shower of 800 pounds of human waste. The foul downpour
Human waste.
came courtesy of a Dave Matthews Band tour bus, whose driver, Stefan Voll, thought it was wise to empty the vehicle's septic tank while crossing the bridge. Although the band wasn't on board at the time of the incident, they still faced legal fallout and had to cough up $200,000 towards
Мне кажется, для них это было дерьмово.
environmental protection.
It certainly contributed to us being able to do the work we need to do to help people really think about the river differently. There's
Река говна. Чё, как сено, что ли?
nothing that came good out of the event because what happened to those people on that boat is just
Даже вот эта штука подняла, чтобы не нюхать говно.
too awful to imagine.
As for Voll, he pleaded guilty to reckless conduct, receiving 18 months probation and a $10,000 fine. Number 16, Lena Dunham, molestation allegations. Throughout her career, writer and filmmaker Lena Dunham has found herself at the centre of multiple controversies, so it's no surprise that this particular one slipped under the radar.
I'm aware of the criticisms and I'm able to live with it.
In September 2014, Dunham published her memoir, Not That Kind of Girl, which included a
Не такусь.
passage about her sexually experimenting with her younger sister in the past. Conservative commentator Kevin D. Williamson jumped on these excerpts, claiming it wasn't merely a case of innocent curiosity, as Dunham portrayed, but outright molestation. Dunham rejected this interpretation, emphasising that she does not condone such behaviour under any circumstances. Her stance found backing from some child psychologists who argued that the events described in the book fell within the norms of childhood sexual behaviour.
Child psychologist Dr. Fran Walfish says curiosity is normal for young children.
It's helpful
Хотят поебаться и ебутся. Чё бубнить-то?
to normalize it, but still create reasonable boundaries for children.
Number 15, P.T. Barnum and the Joyce Heth hoax. 2017's The Greatest Showman spins a sanitised tale of P.T. Barnum's life, skipping over how he came into the show business.
Shame of the city. The protests cement Mr. Barnum's reputation as a purveyor of the offensive and indecent.
In 1835, Barnum launched his career by exhibiting Joyce Heth, an enslaved black woman he claimed was 161 years old. Barnum reportedly made $1,500 weekly by showcasing Heth for prolonged periods. Although skeptics questioned his claims, many believed him, thanks to Heth's frail appearance. Rumour has
Это вообще Ленин.
that Barnum may have even removed her teeth to make her look older. After Heth's death in 1836, Barnum continued to exploit her. He arranged a public
Это нехорошо.
autopsy, charging spectators 50
Бля, дебил.
cents for admission. The autopsy revealed that Heth was around 80 years old, exposing Barnum's deception. But this barely put a dent in his career. Number 14, Bill O'Reilly's campaign against Dr. Tiller. As one of the only doctors in the US specialising in late-term abortions, Dr. George Tiller attracted no shortage of detractors.
Services had just begun when 67-year-old George Tiller, a doctor in the middle of the abortion debate for 30 35 years was gunned
Мне нравится его взгляд, куда-то он смотрит, и вот просто камера приближается, это офигительно.
down in the church lobby while serving as an usher.
Leading the charge was Conservative TV host Bill O'Reilly, who regularly attacked Tiller on his Fox News show. O'Reilly dubbed him Tiller the Baby
Итак, теперь мы переходим к новостям об этом долбоёбе.
Killer and even compared him to terrorist groups. So when Tiller was fatally shot on May 31st, 2009 by an anti-abortion extremist, many couldn't help but connect the dots between O'Reilly's incendiary rhetoric and the heinous act. He was accused of painting a target on Tiller's back, especially since an earlier attempt on the doctor's life had already occurred in 1993. While he condemned the murder, O'Reilly insisted his campaign wasn't to blame for the violence.
Ну такая же ситуация, как и с 42 братухами и барабулькой. Ну похоже.
Accusers object to my
Типа говорят, вот это все 42.
using the term Tiller.
Блять, я вчера посмотрел реакцию он дал на выпуск с барабулькой, 50 хейтеров. Что Солодков, что хейтеры кринжа наваливали.
Baby killer, which was the doctor's well-known nickname.
Number 13, Brandy's car collision. Singer and actress Brandy Norwood has spent most of her career steering clear of controversy, but in 2006 it found her.
It's been 4 years.
Yes.
We know that the last two especially have been tough for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Almost 2 years.
Absolutely right.
To the day that you were involved in that accident that killed a young
Да, это я.
mother.
On December 30th, Norwood's car rear-ended another vehicle during a multi-car collision on the 405 freeway in Los Angeles. The driver in the other car was a mother of two named Abatef Abdihaj, who sustained severe injuries, which she later succumbed to in hospital. Brandy faced no criminal charges for the accident, as prosecutors lacked sufficient evidence to guarantee a conviction at trial.
Ну сбила и сбила, чё бубнить-то?
However, she was hit with 4 wrongful death lawsuits from Abdihaj's family and other drivers involved in the collision, all of which were eventually settled out of court.
No.
Being involved in something that tragic and I couldn't believe it.
I just wanna burn a symphony.
And I don't like to think about it because I don't think that's something I could ever get over.
Нихуёва моя жизнь говно, дельфины.
Number 12, Karl Malone impregnates minor. To date, Karl Malone remains one of the greatest power forwards in NBA history, earning the nickname the Mailman for his unmatched delivery skills.
10 to go on the shot clock. It's Malone wide open.
Malone had enjoyed a pristine reputation since he began his professional career in 1985, but that all changed in 1998 when the Globe dropped a bombshell. The tabloid alleged that Malone had fathered 3 children in the 80s with 2 women, one of whom was a teenager named Gloria Bell, while Malone managed to escape
Динь-динь-динь, вот ты, блядь, и попался.
any legal repercussions for
Да, в судебном порядке.
the crime. He had already reached a quiet settlement with Bell's family years before the story surfaced. Even after the controversial publication, Malone's career carried on without a hitch, until he officially retired in 2005. Number 11, Coco Chanel's ties to the Nazi Party.
Чё?
A revolutionary
Nazi Party.
fashion designer, Coco Chanel, redefined women's style in the early 20th century.
From impoverished
Я вообще не думал, жевали Коко Шанель.
orphan to international fashion icon. Self-taught and self-made,
Не, очевидно, она сейчас не живая, потому что... Светлая память, как говорится, но... Чё?
Gabrielle Coco Chanel was one of the most emblematic designers of the 20th century.
Her legacy remains iconic, however, it has been marred by the revelations about her ties to the Nazi Party.
Блядь, ну... Волт и Диснея тоже обвиняли, и чё, блядь?
During World War II, Chanel resided in the Hotel Ritz in Nazi-occupied Paris, alongside
Ну, жила.
high-profile German personnel. She became romantically involved with Hans Gunther von Dinkliger, a Nazi intelligence officer, and allegedly worked as a spy under the code name Westminster.
That in 19...
Хотите, я продам вам свою сумочку? Или вы больше не будете жить?
1940, Gabrielle Chanel worked as a Nazi spy, recruiting agents for the Third Reich across Europe. She was number F7124.
Ну, блядь, мне как-то похуй на это. Я, конечно, Шанелем не пользуюсь, но если захочу купить духи Шанель, я не буду думать о ее прошлом.
Code name Westminster.
Chanel also reportedly participated in Operation Modelhood, a failed...
Кстати, приходите на концерты боевого фюрера Адольфа Стинтлера. Москва, Санкт-Петербург, Екатеринбург, Новосибирск.
plot to exploit her connection to Winston Churchill to sway British diplomacy. After the war, she was investigated by French authorities but escaped prosecution, supposedly due to Churchill's intervention. She subsequently fled to Switzerland before returning to Paris in 1954 to revive her brand. Number 10. Chuck Berry's voyeurism.
Так.
The late Chuck Berry was
Я не думал о том, что он может попасть в скандал.
a singer, songwriter, and
Был. Святая память.
guitarist who left a lasting legacy on R&B and rock music.
Chuck Berry.
Надо говорить святая память, потому что Коко Шанель, она оставила свой след в моде. Что Чак Берри, он оставил свой след в музыке.
He was a pioneer in his field, often referred to as the father of rock and roll, who
Бля, у меня в детстве была похожая фуражка.
influenced a generation of musicians.
By the late 1980s, Berry branched out, notably purchasing the Southern Air restaurant in Wentzville, Missouri. To the oblivion of the employees and customers at his restaurant, Berry installed video cameras in private areas, which were eventually found by one of the cooks.
The married father of four repeatedly had trouble with the law.
A total of about 200 women filed a class action suit against Berry.
Нормально, блядь, встретил первый год нового десятилетия.
In 1990, for infringing on their rights to privacy. Although he claimed no wrongdoing, Berry opted to settle his accusers and paid out over $1.2 million.
Он может себе это позволить.
Легенда.
Margin of
У
glory
него полно денег было, я думаю.
is not too high. That margin of defeat then is also not too low. So I live right through it without any pain.
Number 9. Bruno Mars's arrest.
Да, это было на превьюшке.
Just when his career as a solo pop star was taking off, Bruno Mars fell into some trouble with the police.
Check out this mugshot of Bruno Mars.
Это макшот Бруно Марса.
All smiles after he was busted in Las Vegas early.
Меня посадили.
Sunday morning for narcotics possession.
During an indulgent night out in Vegas,
Ну, у него там хранилась наркота, конечно, дочка была веселая. Вот он веселый такой, блядь.
he was caught in possession of illicit substances at the Hard Rock Casino and was swiftly arrested. He ended up pleading guilty in
Я так и думал, да, моя это... Ну и что?
court. The uptown funk crooner enrolled in an education program, doled out a few $1,000s, and put in hours of community service as penance.
Я думаю, на этих общественных работах было охуенно.
Won't be an entry of judge.
Были концерты, нахуй.
Mr. Hernandez is to be placed on informal probation for 1 year.
As such, his record was expunged, and the story has largely remained obscure. That is, until today. Luckily, and the story has largely remained obscure. That is, until today. Luckily, the incident taught Mars a big lesson that mistakes like this could flush all of his hard work down the
Главное, чтобы на пути Марса не встал ретроградный Меркурий.
drain.
It's something that I moved past, and I'm hoping everyone else I come across will move past it too.
Number 8. David Letterman's Secret Affairs. David Letterman became one of the most...
Блять, есть ведущий телешоу, который нахуй не попадал в скандал. Я бы, быть может, узнал, что ёпта, оказывается-то, Джеймс Кордон на скандал попадал. Мне кажется, Конан О'Брайен единственный, кому... Да, блять, не, Конан Брайан-то за свою карьеру явно попадал в какой-нибудь скандал. Явно из заголовки Конан О'Брайен попал в это говно, в эту хуйню.
Beloved figures in America with his long-running late-night talk shows.
Well, you've never been on the show. I was going to say it's been a long time. You've never been on this show.
No, I haven't, Dave. If you were bald, I would have been on 10 years ago.
Это классный актер. Он, короче, снялся в рекламе для Суперкубка. Там это была реклама FTX. криптобиржи, которая потом, блядь, обвалилась, а концепция рекламы была в том, что этот актер вечно говорил, типа, лампочка, хуйня, кофе, хуйня. Там действие происходило в те времена, когда были придуманы эти изобретения. Он сказал Мэдисону, он сказал Эдисону, что его выступление стикс, типа, воняет, хуйня. Он сказал, что кофе отстой. Он сказал, что колесо хуйня, вилки хуйня, туалет хуйня. И когда, короче, была концовка с FTX, ему говорят, FTX это надежный способ заниматься криптовалютой. И он говорит, я так не считаю. И эта реклама плохо застарилась, потому что криптобиржа FTX обанкротилась, ее создатель сел, и получается, он был прав. А слоган рекламы был «Не будьте как Дэвид». Но лучше быть как Дэвид.
But the renowned host found himself in a scandal in 2009 when Joe Haldeman, one of the producers of 48 Hours, attempted to blackmail him for millions.
Haldeman has pleaded not guilty to attempted grand larceny. He's been suspended from his job at CBS News, and if convicted, he could face up to 15 years in prison.
Letterman had been romantically involved with some of the female staffers.
Мне кажется, у ведущих вечерних шоу было такое. И у Эллен Дедженерис тоже были отношения со своими коллегами. Не членами команды, а с вагинами.
Who worked for him, and Haldeman threatened to expose the affairs. Letterman got ahead of him, setting up a sting with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which resulted in Haldeman's arrest. All of this was made public in an episode of The Late Show by the host himself.
Я понимаю, вы хотите посмотреть мое интервью с гостем, но, блядь, криминальные распри.
I have had sex with women who work for me on this show.
Я такой реакции ожидаю.
Now, my response to that is, yes, I have.
Number 7, Lana Turner and the Johnny Stompanato scandal. As one of Hollywood's most glamorous leading ladies, Lana Turner's romantic life
Гламур, блонды, гламур и брюнетки. Мне не важно, наш стайл, гламур.
was subject to much interest and talk.
Lana led the kind of life that the writers of Melrose Place struggle to create. Lana lived her life the way she wanted to.
By the late 50s, Turner became involved with
Ты живешь, как мама скажет, я скажу, как гламур ляжет.
Johnny Stompanato, a mobster who was reportedly very possessive and violent. On April 4th, 1958, the two had gotten into an intense fight while Turner's daughter, Cheryl Crane, was home. Concerned for her mother's safety, Crane fatally wounded Stompanato.
А прикиньте, у нее был гад, не знаю, тоже такая же пушка, как у гангстеров, она такая та-та-та-та нахуй.
The story of what happened immediately after the stabbing of Stompanato goes like
Гангстер. Я гангстер.
Wounded Stompanato.
The story of what happened immediately after the stabbing of Stompanato goes like this. Cheryl called her father Stephen.
Ну, очевидно, если ты встречаешься с гангстером, хорошего ничего не может быть. Я сразу вспоминаю киллера из видоса «Мастурбиста», который говорил: «Спасибо за деньги, это поможет моей семье». Интересно, что ты, блядь, скажешь своим детям или ребенку, кем ты работал, блядь? Убивал людей за бабки.
Lana called her mother and she called a doctor. The doctor, unable to revive Stompanato, suggested Lana call herself a really good lawyer.
The death and subsequent trial became the talk of town, with dozens of reporters swarming the court during the hearings. Both Turner and Crane were exonerated, but that didn't stop the rumours around Tinseltown.
No, the rumor's been rampant for years that Cheryl was taking the rap for Lana. And that's not true. Lana did not do it. That I know.
Still,
Я пытался угадать, как он скажет. Не угадал.
This story has since largely been forgotten. Number 6, Charlie Chaplin's marriages. You can't talk about the silent era of film without mentioning Charlie Chaplin and his body of work. Through this tramp persona, he charmed his way into the hearts of millions around the world. But
И ни одной женщины, я так полагаю.
What many didn't know about Chaplin is that behind
Вот я сразу понял по его усам, вот как-то... Я понял, что он нехороший.
the on-screen antics, he showed a disturbing attraction for much younger women.
There's aspects of Chaplin's behaviour, of his relationships with young girls that we found really troubling as we've been making the film.
Ну хорошо, что он не был фашистом.
Indeed, 3 of his marriages were with minors, despite the fact
Наконец-то я могу убить его без усов.
Troubling as we've been making the film.
Indeed,
И он обычный норбис.
3 of his marriages were with minors, despite the fact that he was well into his adult years.
Короче, у него есть red flag. Его девушка должна быть молодой.
These stories made some waves at the time, yet despite the unlawful activity, Chaplin's name and legacy doesn't seem to have been tarnished too badly.
Ой, блять, он легенда.
Chaplin returned
Как бы оно, сука, пострадало.
to the U.S. to receive an honorary Oscar in 1972. In 1975, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth.
Number 5, Manny Pacquiao's harmful remarks. The world-famous boxer Manny Pacquiao hung up his gloves briefly in 2015 when he decided to run for a Senate seat in his home.
Почему сильным мужикам так хочется власти? Не. Они хотят быть сигмобоями, понятное дело, но Шварценеггер мог бы сниматься и в кино, Мэнни Пакьяо мог бы драться.
Home country of the Philippines.
The 36-year-old will face his greatest political challenge yet. He's named a candidate for senator in next year's elections.
During his campaign the next year, he made disparaging remarks about the LGBTQ+ community.
Ой, зря, ой, зря.
In a televised setting.
You've caused quite a controversy with what people are saying is your...
Кстати, я гей. Не-не, он должен прыгнуть и сказать I'm gay.
Statement.
After the segment aired, Pacquiao was hit in the face with a flood of criticism, with
Я думаю, многие ЛГБТ-спортсмены потом хотели провести с ним бой.
many local celebrities calling for a boycott.
Я бы хотел посмотреть на его бой и бой той девушки с Парижской Олимпиады, которая непонятно, мужик, не мужик, кто ты, блядь, такая, кто ты, блядь, такая.
Of the famed boxer. In addition to the online backlash, he lost his endorsement deal with Nike.
Nike, just do it. Выдвиньте в Сенат. Зачем-то?
Find Manny Pacquiao's comments to be abhorrent. Nike strongly opposes discrimination of any kind and has a long history of supporting and standing up for the rights of the...
У нас есть одежда и для трансгендеров, и для лесбиянок, и для геев. Пошел нахуй, Мэнни.
The LGBT community.
Тебе достанется many hates. Много хейта.
Pacquiao eventually apologized for his statements, although he didn't exactly change his stance.
Ну извините, но я все равно не люблю это ваше радужное сообщество.
Still, he was elected.
Ему надо драться в России. Вот у нас запрещена пропаганда ЛГБТ. Вот ему надо тут драться.
Number 4, Mae West's
Он может оскорблять геев, лесбиянок. И ему ничего не скажут за это.
salacious plays. Throughout her timeless career, Mae West was known for heralding sexual liberation through her art.
She created this absolute goddess that was synonymous with sex and sex appeal for years.
She was seen as rather bold for her time period and was therefore no stranger to controversy. Before she drew large audiences to the box office for her steamy movies, West was already an established playwright and stage actress. Using the pseudonym Jane Mast, she penned a highly controversial Broadway play that debuted in 1926.
At first, the conservative reviewers savaged the play, but then the New York police did Mae West a favor. They closed the play for 3 days.
The show was deemed too indecent for public viewing, leading to West being arrested and spending 10 days in prison. Another work of hers, The Drag, which was about a closeted
Drag. Такую пьесу бы Мэнни Пакьяо не оценил.
gay socialite, was similarly controversial and didn't even make it to Broadway.
She did deal with subjects that were not considered normal subjects for theater comedy then.
Number 3, David O. Russell's assault allegations. In between his acclaimed movies The Fighter and Silver Linings Playbook, David O. Russell got embroiled in a huge scandal that somehow flew under the radar.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate that, Tiffany.
I know you do.
The Hollywood director was alleged to have a...
That, Tiffany.
Подождите. Это он? Нет, не он. Просто психолог один раз советовал этот фильм посмотреть.
I know you do.
The Hollywood director was alleged to have assaulted his then underage niece, Nicole Peloquin. According to Peloquin, Russell had been assisting her during a gym session when he engaged in non-consensual touching.
No, it just makes me just want to feel like just never have that kind of vibe ever.
Although he admitted to the occurrence, Russell asserted its innocence, claiming that Peloquin had invited the interaction. At the end of the day, no charges were filed against the director due to a lack of evidence. So the case never even went before a court of law.
Terribly embarrassing. Those are my worst moments, and they make me be more vigilant to never ever repeat such a thing.
Number 2, Matthew Broderick's costly accident. In the summer of 1987, Hollywood actor Matthew Broderick was vacationing in Northern Ireland with his then-girlfriend, actress Jennifer Grey.
Grey's star was on the rise when she landed her breakout role in the 1986 film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where she met her boyfriend, Matthew Broderick.
The two had hit it off on the set of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and began a relationship which they had largely kept hidden from the media. While driving back one night,
Не стараюсь афишировать, но если на публичное мероприятие надо вместе выйти, мы выйдем, хули.
Broderick crashed directly into another car after veering off into the wrong lane.
Поэтому он носит очки, чтобы лучше видеть.
Broderick and Grey survived the accident with
Ёб твою мать, это Мэтью Бродрик, слишком брутально для него.
significant injuries, but the passengers in the
Блять, брутальный Бродрик.
other car, mother-daughter duo Anna Gallagher and Margaret Doherty, passed away.
I was in shock because I was the only living witness, and Matthew was unconscious and had amnesia, and the other two women died.
Broderick
Что я сделал? Я не знаю.
Got off on a careless driving charge and was ordered to pay a small fine, a move that was referred to as a
О, спасибо. Я выплачу штраф. А за что я его выплачиваю? Ну ладно, если вы просите, нате.
travesty of justice by the family of those lost.
And it had very serious, traumatic, lasting effects on, I'm sure, Matthew and
Макалей Бродрик. Мэтью Калкин.
the family of the other women and me.
Before we continue, number 1, Ben Affleck's family history. The PBS documentary series Finding Your Roots.
Он, короче, как Уилл Смит, у него с семьей тоже не очень, я так понял. Посмотрите мою реакцию, кстати, до видоса Егора Побирского про Уилла Смита. Там дохуища дизлайков. И я не наебываю, посмотрите это. Как вы посмотрите, дизлайки включены. Ну, короче, один из самых задизлайканных реактов на этом канале пока.
Brings on different celebrities
Наверное.
every episode and traces their ancestral roots.
You are descended from a patriot.
This is a big surprise and really exciting, and I'm really proud of it.
In 2014, Ben Affleck appeared on the show and found out, along with everyone watching, about some of his relatives, like his mum, who was a civil rights activist. Behind the
О боже, нет. О нет, она была феминисткой.
scenes, however, the program's genealogists
Я прочитал генетологии, посмотрел сюда.
had discovered that one of Affleck's ancestors was a slave owner in Georgia.
Так, это ужасно.
His name was Benjamin Cole. Lived in Georgia on my mom's side about 6 generations back.
Feeling embarrassed about the revelation and not wanting the information out in public, Affleck pressured the show's producers to edit that segment out.
Бэтмен носит черный костюм. Бэтмен любит черный цвет. Какой рабовладелец? Нет никаких рабовладельцев в моем роду.
It all came to
Я Бэтмен, а не рабовладелец.
light during the 2015 Sony Pictures hacking scandal when the story was leaked to the public.
Last July, the series' executive producer Henry Louis Gates Jr. emailed Sony Entertainment CEO Michael Lynn.
Эй, а вы в курсе, что у вас-то Бэтмен, вас-то Бэтмен это В роду есть рабовладелец.
To ask for advice. Quote, "We've never had anyone ever try to censor or edit what we found. He's a megastar. What do we do?"
Are there
Действительно.
any other obscure celebrity scandals that you think should be resurfaced? Share them with us in the comments below.
Very, very hard time for me, but music pretty much saved the day, and just family and friends just supporting me. And
Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал, жмите на колокольчик, чтобы выпускать новые видео. Пишите комментарии, ставьте на телегу. С вами был Алекс Назаренко. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока.